Now, here's where I went wrong. I assumed that, oh man, this is a story from a long time ago, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago, but I think you're going to like this story. Hi, my name is Levi, and this is the Daily Drive. Now, what happened was this. I had a pickup at the private jet terminal in Ithaca, New York. Ithaca, New York is where Cornell University is. And, I drive down there probably 2 times a week, if not more. It's definitely a place I like to go be an Uber driver. So when I had a pickup at the private jet terminal, I've done this a few times. It's always pretty cool. Sometimes they actually have you drive out onto the ramp and have the plane pull up right next to you. But that wasn't the case this time. This time the guy was actually already in the terminal waiting for me. And when I got there, it's just a short ride. It's maybe 10, 15 minutes from the private jet terminal to the Cornell campus. So the ride starts and I'm like, what are you in town for? The normal stuff. But definitely because you're going to the private jet terminal, you're really curious. Um, he said he was in town for a board meeting. All right, board meeting, that makes sense. And then he goes, I'm also here to recruit, which makes sense. You go to a university to get future employees, and he's in the world of finance, and so he's here to recruit financial students. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Now, here's where I went wrong. I assumed that he was there to recruit MBA students, graduate students, students studying economics, whatever. No, no, not even close. He said he was there to recruit sophomores. Sophomores. Now, this kind of blew my mind because I was thinking, like, why would you go and recruit people that are kids? I mean, they're basically 19, maybe 20, if they're, and this was like early in the semester too. This is like in the fall. So he was going to go talk to people that have completed 1 year of college. They basically maybe have taken one course in finance or business. They've taken probably a lot of prerequisites of English and whatever else. But this is what blew my mind about it. He said that, Cornell had already done the screening. Like Cornell's already validated that these people are qualified candidates to go work at his company. By just the mere fact of getting into Cornell, that they were good enough for him. Now, if you're a Harvard person or a Yale person or a Duke or Stanford, I could see this hierarchy in your mind. But the 99% of the rest of the world, Cornell is an elite university. And it's amazing. There's a lot of super smart people, and I really love driving down there and meeting a lot of them. But it's just like he said, Cornell has already done the screening and the qualifications, and he gave two validations to this. Number one, he said that they were, already working hard. Like if they're smart enough to get into Cornell, good SAT scores, good grades in school, writing a good interest, whatever else it is, they're already qualified to work for him. And that makes sense. I was like, okay, I can kind of see that. They've worked hard and they're in an elite university, and that's a good thing. But the cynical side of all of us thinking right now, we're all cynically thinking, what about the rich kid? The rich kid that just got in because mom or dad donated umpteen dollars to the university and they did okay in school, but they're really there just to party. What about those guys? He had an answer for that too. And I didn't prompt him on that, but I'm sure he saw it in my eyes as I was driving. He said, and the kids that got in that were rich, that their parents are rich or whatever, you know what? I work with rich people and I want more rich people in my circle. And, it's like he finalized his thing this way. He said, let's say I hire 10 students or whatever every year, and five of them are just really rock solid. They're going to go on to be stellar employees for however long at his firm. He said five of them are not going to be so good, but of those five, three of them are going to be, or two of them are going to be rich, and I'll keep them on too, or they'll have rich connections. And he said it's not even that their families are rich, that they're going to make connections at Cornell. It's like a light bulb went off in my head. There is really true world that unless you're, I don't want to say lucky, but lucky, it's kind of hard to break into it. That world is the elite finance affluent world. And universities like Cornell, as good as they are, and there's a lot of good things going on there, but it is gatekeeping. It is basically exclusive. It's a country club that it's hard to get into. And you can say, well, there's a lot of students that work really hard and they get into that university, but a lot of them are going to study things like biology or chemistry. They're not necessarily going to go into finance, and they could go into business, and you could be an entrepreneur. You could start from nothing and grow your own business. And there are ways into it. I'm not saying that the United States is a complete caste system, but the rich, because they have money and that world revolves around money, they kind of protect their own. And it just got me really thinking. How do I feel about that? My initial gut reaction is, kind of offense. Like, like that's just like we want a world that's based upon, merit. The cream rises to the top. But then there's a part of me, it's kind of like, if I was a bajillionaire, I would want my kids taken care of. I take care of my kids now. Even though I'm not uber wealthy, I still do things for my kids. I try to introduce them to my friends that have companies or, local, and my friends have helped my kids out. So I do see nepotism throughout all of life. Even if a poor person, maybe they can't nepotize a child into an elite job, but they have favors, and who wouldn't look out for their kid? So I can't really fault that system. But it got me thinking on a much bigger scale, and you're going to hear me talk about this constantly because I'm fascinated by it. But the future, what's really going to happen? Now, around my area, here in my village, my university closed. Casanova College, it closed. Wells College closed. I think more and more colleges are going to close. There's another story that's kind of an antidote to this, but there are some students that went to Cornell University. They were enrolled as freshmen, and now they just graduated. And they're struggling to find a job because they studied computer science. And why? Well, people don't need computer science. They don't need programmers as much as they used to. Doesn't mean they won't be computer programmers, but can you imagine 4 years ago? This is like right after the pandemic. People were like, learn to code. If you can learn to code, you can control the universe. The world needs more programmers. And these guys were making hundreds of thousands of dollars right out of college to be computer programmers. And then AI came along. And now today, people are kind of like, I might need a computer programmer, but I don't need five. And so imagine enrolling in a university like I went to Syracuse, so Syracuse University, and you learn to code and you spend $200,000 to $300,000 in debt to learn computer science and then get a degree. And now you struggle to find a job. You're going to become an Uber driver. Right? So I think that's really interesting. So the gatekeeping of the universities is shifting because of that. And I think about finance. AI is going to be a much better analyst, data, numbers crunching than any human. Really, really soon. AI will know math and formulas and economics and financial calculators and all that kind of stuff quicker and faster than humans anytime. But on the other side, there's going to be like human connection side to finance. Like I had an Uber passenger just a couple of days ago. He flew into town. He works at a wealth management company, and he's just going to go talk to one of the companies that they have invested in, and he just wants to talk to the C-suite, to the owners of the company, and to the managers. And why AI could probably do some interviewing and Q&A and kind of stuff like that. You and I both know that AI will never really replace the eye contact, the real human connection that you and I can have. So the ability to actually just, I want to say resonate. I don't know what the right word is, but just connect with another human. And he wants to sit face to face across the table, walk around that company and actually listen and talk to those executives. So that's going to stick around. But all these people that studied really hard, got into Cornell or Yale or Harvard or whatever university they get into, and they studied finance and studied math. And now these wealth management companies, these private equity companies, these, trading companies, they're not going to need as many smart analysts. What they're going to need is humans to go and analyze other humans, actually physically talk to other humans and make business connections, which leads me back to my final thought, the cynicism of it all. The rich kid is going to get into these universities and he's going to have that connection, or she's going to have that connection. And so it's like, it's going to be harder to some extent to break into that upper echelon, the 1% of the 1%, because of AI is going to do the simple task or even the hard tasks that a lot of us peons, us minions in the world, are going to be capable to do to advance ourselves. So I don't know about you, but I'm like a doomer on one side when it comes to AI. I think it's the end of the world. I think things are going to collapse. And then part of me is like, wow, it's going to be really cool, the things that we're going to be able to do. And yeah, I was thinking about that guy. I probably picked him up at that private jet terminal, like I say, 2 years ago. And every now and then when I start to think about some of the students I drive around at Syracuse University or Cornell or Colgate or, and some of these elite institutions where it's expensive. And I say elite, not necessarily even academics, just like elite because they cost $70,000 to $100,000 a year. The students are coming from wealthy families. A lot of them are. And I think about what's going to happen in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years with AI and which direction our world's going to go. So this podcast, I'm telling you right now, as an Uber driver, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about this. It fascinates me. It worries me. I've got my youngest kid still in the house. He's 14. Who knows? Will he even go to college? Will there be colleges around? Will colleges even have 4-year degrees? If everything's moving so fast, will a 4-year degree be worth anything? Maybe you have to go to school for 2 years, and maybe that's a good thing. And there's a lot of changes happening in our world. And you and I, as Uber passengers, we're kind of in it. We're like on the outside in it. As the people that we pick up, we start to experience it, whether they're, a single low-income mom struggling to make ends meet to guys flying in on private jets. I am so glad that you've stayed connected to this podcast all the way into this. Stay tuned because I'm going to start introducing new things here to the end of the podcast to answer your questions. And so let's jump into your questions. But before I do that, hey, I created this podcast for you and me to connect as a community, not just drivers, but passengers. I want to share the stories, the experience of being a rideshare driver. Yes, I want you to make as much money as possible as a driver, but I want you to be safe, healthy, and happy. I want you to enjoy the ride because I do. I enjoy it. I really do. So I got 2 questions from people. Let me answer them. Vikram, he made the first community post on the channel. So I'm going to tell you what, if you make a community post where somebody can actually, I'm not sure how it works in YouTube, but you can go to this channel and make a post. I will see it, not even comment on a video, and I will see it. And so I'm going to respond to his question. And he says, what dash cam setup do I have? I have the Vantrue N5. I'm not sponsored by them, but I want to be. But yeah, the Vantrue N5, which means there's actually 4 cameras. There's one going out the front of the vehicle. There's one going inside the car. Then you can run a wire all the way to the back. And there's another camera that looks out the back of the car, but also looks down into the passenger compartment. Now, I didn't hook that camera up, and the reason why I haven't hooked that camera up is because the Tesla already has a rear-facing camera, and there's no really good place for me to mount it to look into the passenger compartment because, well, the Tesla window's really far back. So that's my setup. This next question comes from Chuck, the driver. Chuck, he is one of the co-hosts of Drivers Coast to Coast. My favorite X space. It's with Matt, Lynn, and Chuck every Monday night at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's amazing. If you're on X, go there, listen to it. It's a great place for drivers. But Chuck, he actually asked the question of me on the show the other night, and I thought I would answer it here because nobody else has caught on. Oh, maybe you have caught on. But you don't really know. How do I number these podcasts? Because this is, I think, 1993, I think is the number of this podcast. 1993. You know what happened in 1993? I graduated from high school. I would have graduated in 1992, but I failed the 8th grade. There's a little secret about Levi. Okay, how do I number these podcasts? Well, each podcast is numbered based upon the day I started. So 1993 means I started Uber driving 1,993 days ago. It was February 20 something, February 2020. I started right before COVID hit. In fact, I heard a guy out in my Uber driver out in Las Vegas. I was on a business trip. Bronislav, he recommended I become an Uber driver, and I signed up on the flight back, and I started that Saturday. But I remember being in Vegas with a lot of people rubbing, the disinfectant on their hands or whatever. I can't remember the name of that stuff. But, and then there was like that ship. Remember that everybody got sick on that COVID ship? I remember seeing the news about that when I was in Vegas. And then I got back into Syracuse. And then my first Uber ride was that Friday night. I want to say February 21st. I could be wrong. I have to go take a look at it. I'll tell you, I'll put it right here. I'll put my first Uber ride right here. Hey, my name is Levi. This is the Daily Drive. I want you to know I am cheering for you. Be safe, be well. Bye.